Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. We have the Asus F17 Tuf. Anyway, or Asus Tuf F17. I don't care what you want to call it. It's up to you. Anyway, so this has an 11th gen i7 11800H. 11th gen processor in it. It's an 8 core, 2.3 gigahertz base clock, about a 4.6-ish overclock. Anyways, we've got an RTX 3050 GPU, GDR6 RAM in it, 4 gigs worth. Yay! Nothing to write home about. 8 gigs would be better though, Kev. Yeah, well, it didn't come with it, and I can't upgrade it, so I'm kind of screwed until it's paid off. Then I might just buy a new computer, because gaming. Anyways, I've been a bit of a bad boy. I've been a download whore for the last while on Steam. And I am loving the multiplayer games. And normally I don't, but I need more games. And to get free games, hey, lots of multiplayer stuff out there, right? So I'm in. All right. Besides, I have the speed of the internet and I have an unlimited bandwidth. So what the hell? Let's do this stuff. Now I need a bigger drive because I only got a half a terabyte left out of 2. I do have 2 drives in there. My secondary drive or dump drive is actually for storing important crap I can't lose. But it's only 1 terabyte, and it used to be the boot drive. It's an Express 4 7000 megabit per second, but it became too small. So I bought a 2 terabyte Crucial, a little bit slower, it's a little over 5,000, but it's still way fast. Now, the Computer Factory comes as a 16 gigs of RAM and a half a terabyte of storage. Now, you can still buy this thing brand new on Amazon if you want, even though it's been out for a couple of years. It's still a really good computer. And so if you are kind of like low to mid-level, and yes, you can play some hardcore crap on this, but you're going to have to sacrifice some settings, but at least your graphics should stay intact really well, because it is for me. You can still play some of the big boy games, okay, like the really big boy games, like Cyberpunk will run really good on it. Decimator, I'm still working on tweaking a few settings, but Decimator is way the hell more demanding than Cyberpunk, but man, it's a freaking cool game. But otherwise, yeah, you can play pretty much almost anything, almost. But you're going to need RAM, okay, that's the big thing. Now, Asus, even in their one that replaced this, which has the 4060 8 gig, but yet it has only 6 performance cores, but it does have a lot of efficiencies for the wussy tasks. I won't touch that computer just because, well, I'm getting shortchanged on performance cores, and you need that for gaming, right? So I won't touch that computer myself. And it is actually the same $2,000 price tag as what I paid for this one back in October 2022. So, you know, I mean, no. It may have more video, and you know, it definitely runs DDR5, so I can probably hit that 128 gig of RAM, but it's not worth it for 6 performance cores in my books. So I am looking at other options. But eventually I do have to upgrade this thing to a better machine. And there's nothing wrong with this one. And even the battery is still just like brand new, because you can put it into different modes, and so it only accepts a certain amount of charge, and the battery can last indefinitely as far as battery health goes. So when I do turn around to go and sell this thing one day, because I still have to finish paying for it first, at least whoever buys it will have basically like a brand new battery, and the whole system is like brand new too, because, well, it's in perfect condition, right? Now, it does have a Type-C port, which is for Type-C drives, or DisplayPort, which is cool. It does have HDMI, which is, I use the HDMI port to my 4K display. That's why you won't see the keyboard lit up or the display on that thing. Now, it does have a 720p camera, but majority of laptops from Windows World do. It's pretty rare to find any kind of a gamer laptop without paying big, huge bucks, where you're going to get a 1080p camera these days even. So I'm kind of like, well, I don't really use the webcam, but you know, if it was my only computer, I would definitely want something with at least a 1080p webcam, because any webcams that I've bought as separate webcams are pieces of crap. Even 1080p stuff that's supposedly better megapixels than that. That actually was no different. So it's like, I don't know. But Apple does way better webcams, but that's not the only reason to buy an Apple computer. So now, this is a really good gaming class laptop. Okay, it's really good. It's not perfect, but you know, hey, we're liking video, right? But it will share system RAM if needed, okay, which is nice. But you are going to need to chalk 64 gigs of RAM, and it's only going to be under 200 bucks, and you do it yourself. There's an Express 3 and an Express 4 slot in there for NVMe M.2 drives. The Express 4 is actually the boot slot. That's the slot that boots the computer. So kind of a little odd that you can't pick and choose your battles, but in this case, no. But that's fine. And Express 4, man, that's pretty fast stuff. This thing will boot like really fast, okay? Now, it boots even faster with a 7000, but you really don't get that much advantage between 5 and 7,000 unless you're talking video editing. But even when I had the 7,000 in this thing, my Mac was still way faster. Okay, this thing was like about 11 to 13 minutes behind my Mac. And I thought, well, that's pretty disgusting, but that's PCs for you. I have a bit of a bias and a bit of an attitude issue between both platforms. And I have my love and hate for Apple, don't you worry, okay? PCs are the same way. Now, there is a difference in quality between a Mac and a PC when it comes to video editing and all that, right? There's a reason why Apple's the industry standard for everything graphics and music except for gaming. And gaming is a completely different kind of graphics forum than the other stuff. So, you know, you got to kind of pick and choose your battles, right? PCs are getting better. And you're going to like this part because I must now go, oh, all right, little bit. The other day, of course, I'm having problems with Sequoia. It kind of basically tore my Mac a new one. And it did it to everybody else too, with every computer from Apple Silicon right down to Intel Macs, okay? Now, the cure, of course, is go back to Sonoma or the last stable OS you ran. So I went back to Sonoma in the end after a lot of fighting with different stuff because, yep, crap hit the fan because I was trying to do something that apparently I shouldn't have done with, you know, using a real version of Sequoia instead of an update. Anyways, it wreaked havoc, and I needed to get a video up. I haven't touched this thing for video editing since the last time, when this thing was about 11 minutes or so behind my Mac. It was that much slower. And I used Movie Maker on this, or I can use DaVinci. Now, granted, majority of my videos, it's like I cut my video on the iPad, I'm like snip here, add here, and I'm done in like 5 minutes at most, right? Depending on the length of the video. But I had this video the other day, and on my Mac, I would have literally been in and out of there in not 2 minutes, but about probably 3.5-ish minutes, because I would just airdrop from my iPad right in. So from the time it's actually on the computer is where I count. And then I drop it into iMovie, it's instantaneous. And I'm editing right away. I'm like, I'm like the king of video editing for basic stuff, right? So I'm the fastest man alive. Doing it on that, the last time, it took a while to import the same size, same length of file. And I'm like, I want to edit this thing, right? It took a while, right? Time consumption, right? Come on, I want to do things. Want more videos to do, whatever, right? Well, I've had a gazillion Windows 11 updates, and this thing only comes with 11, by the way. You cannot run Windows 10 on it. If you try it, you'll regret it. So, anyways, it's 11 only and up. So, 12 won't be an issue. So, anyway, I dropped the file, and it's like, poof! What? Something wrong? You did that too quick. So, anyways, I was like, I couldn't believe it. And it went in that fast, right, to the editor, just like, you know, and it's like, so much for going for a smoke now. And I just went clip, and export, and I sat there and I timed it. The export part by itself was like 3 minutes, and I think it was 9 seconds or something. I literally timed this. I even called my wife in, and she's like, honey, you're not going to believe this. The whole process from the time it got onto the computer, the whole thing took less than 5 minutes. And I was like, that's pretty damn equal to my Mac. Then the other thing, I've always bitched about the quality, right? Output product. It's identical to my Mac now. What the frig is wrong with you? You're not a Mac. So the only thing I've changed recently is I have a new NVIDIA app because NVIDIA cut off our old one for updating our drivers. So they got this new program out now, and it allows you to do way more than it ever did before. And I've never bothered with studio drivers. And so I have studio drivers and gaming drivers now. And I guess it switches depending on the task that it sees. And it's like, holy Hannibal. That's an improvement, right? Now, keep in mind, Windows 11 is currently 9.5 gigs, okay, to the desktop. And so basically 10 gigs of RAM. That's a lot of RAM, and it's more RAM than even what Mac OS uses right now, okay? Because even Sequoia is only like 7 gigs, right? So this is 9.5. If you buy a computer that only has 16 gigs of RAM in it, you will be updating that RAM, or you're going to have a very sluggy, very crappy experience with gaming. Now, I guarantee you will, because you ain't even going to compete. Windows, literally, I know it can run on less RAM, but that's because it can. It's like Mac OS can run on less, but if it sees what it wants, it will take it, okay? And it doesn't care how it gets it. So, and then you're in virtual world. Like anybody with a Mac right now with 8 gigs of RAM, if you fired up Sonoma or Sequoia, Sequoia is actually going to throw your ass into virtual memory, and that bogs down your computer. Now, it's not a big hit on Apple Silicon, but it is going to tear your drive a new one, and it is going to ruin your drive very fast by going into swap all the time. And the same with PCs running SSDs. If you're always going into swap, you take a massive performance hit compared to a Mac when that happens, but you also destroy your drive because you're only good for so many write cycles on an SSD. Okay, read cycles don't matter, but writes do. And SSD does a constant write, okay? So, yeah, and it's massive. So you got to have the RAM, but it also kills your performance of your computer, right? Now, I also always run this thing plugged into the power supply for 2 reasons. Number one, when you go into battery mode, you're only going to get about a gigahertz worth of speed, and that sucks donk for gaming. Okay, number 2, the battery will be dead in less than the estimated time of 2 hours. It's going to be dead in about an hour, okay? Especially if you're trying to game, it might even be less. So the battery is not the strongest battery that they supply with any gamer laptop. That's why if you search out batteries for your laptops, they got higher capacity batteries to give you more playtime if you want to run on batteries. Just remember, you do take a massive performance dump, okay? Now, PCs are starting to get better, okay, in that area. But at this present point, with a lot of our computers still being sold new computers, okay, and this one's like 2 years old, 3 years old, okay, yeah, they're taking a bad hit. So I leave it plugged in all the time, and besides, I don't go anywhere with it. So why did you buy a laptop? I wanted compact. I'm tired of towers. And besides, towers chew up a lot more friggin' power to the wall socket, too. This thing does a really exceptionally good job. It's like 240 watts, okay? And that's all it draws. So, and that's like everything running right to the nuts. So I'm kind of happy with that, right? And besides, it's compact, stays out of my way. And if I wanted to go portable, like to my buddy's house, I don't have to carry and put that into the car. I just take that, fold it up, put it in my bag over my shoulder, go to my buddy's house, we play gaming. Okay, that's the convenience of a laptop for me. And that doesn't happen that often anymore. He's been busy, I've been busy. Now he's been sick for the last few weeks with pneumonia, poor guy. So once he feels better, maybe we'll get together and do some more gaming. And I'll be taking my PC because we do our gaming on PCs. We don't do gaming on Macs, okay? We do gaming on PCs because that's where the good, fun games are. Now, the computer overall has treated me well, okay? One major heart attack, Asus took care of it. Then we had to fight because my screen got damaged. We got that all solved. There's a whole pile of videos on that, okay? Either way, right now it's in brand new, perfect condition, all of it, okay? Now, I do want to upgrade down the road, but I could not believe how fast that did, and no quality drop. Like, that amazed me. Now, that's also, by the way, an IPS 1080p display, and it can only do 1080p at 144 hertz refresh, which is actually really good. This is what I run off of from that, and this is 4K native, and it puts it into 4K native, but I can drop it down anyway if I want. This is a 60 hertz panel, but it does exceptionally well for gaming. 60 hertz really isn't that big of a jump to 144. It's not that big of a difference, but it is noticeable, right? So if anything down the road, I may upgrade this to a much higher refresh rate display, especially if I'm going to continue gaming on PCs. I'm going to want a better screen. Okay, because I don't like gaming on small screens unless I have to. But otherwise, yeah, if I can sit here, I'm fine. So I may upgrade my monitor eventually for gaming purposes. Because some games I do notice a little bit, but otherwise it's fine, right? But on that, yeah, it's flawless. There's no game I can't run on that thing that's going to give me a hassle, right? So if I was to give you your star rating, I would probably put that as it is. I mean, given you're going to have to upgrade RAM and drives, but let's say stock. Stock, it would probably deserve about a 4, okay? But once you put 64 gigs of RAM in it, because Asus says 32, but they're liars. Even with the new Asus laptops, they say 32. I guarantee you they'll go to 64 without a hassle. And if you can find 264 gig sticks to DDR5, well, then you can do 128 if the chip supports it. Because they don't lock their motherboards, which is nice. But either way, the way it sits now, I'd have to say, yeah, it gets a 4.5 for what it is and for what it can handle. And it can easily handle some pretty hardcore games. Like I'm playing Cyberpunk at 90 frames per second easily at medium graphics, but I did have to dump my resolution to 1600 by 900 to get that, okay? If I run 1080p, I'm around 50-ish, right? Which is still playable, right? Kind of just. But it's only because I have a lot of RAM and my video card will actually ask the system for more RAM to add with it, which does slow down your GDR6 RAM a little bit to match to your system RAM speed, but it's not that big of a gap, so it does work quite well. But yeah, if you want to really get playing Cyberpunk for real good stuff, you're going to be buying a really expensive computer to pull it off, okay? Because Cyberpunk, it's recommended at 16 gigs of RAM to itself and 8 gigs of real graphic power to play 1080p medium. If you want to play the big boys and throw in that friggin' ray tracing, well, hope you got about, I don't know, $8,000 or more dollars into a computer and that would be for a laptop. I don't know how much for a desktop, but you're gonna have to spend that kind of money if you want to play with the real big top settings where that game just really gets punchy, right? And still getting FPS. It's a very demanding game. Decimator is actually very demanding. I can just play Decimator on this thing, right? And I had to tweak it, and I still got a bit tweaking to go yet. Yeah, it's a really nice, stable system. It's a good system. I would recommend it. You can still, like I said, get it on Amazon. But just remember, 4 gigs of graphics is only going to get you so far, okay? I would probably say it's time to upgrade, okay? Now, the machine that replaced this does have a 4060, okay, 8 gigs. You're going to have to upgrade RAM. It will do DDR5 though, the new one, or DDR4 both. And it's the same price, it's $2,000. But you're going to have to upgrade the RAM. You're going to have to upgrade your drives because they just don't give you enough of that in a $2,000 computer, okay? But at least you can get your RAM and drives off Amazon. Now, the RAM I'm using, by the way, is Temtech RAM. It's the cheapest RAM you can probably buy, and it's really good. And no heat shields on the RAM at all. The RAM that comes with these has it, but it's kind of like pointless. But no heat shields on the RAM, no heat shields on my drives either. And everything runs really smooth and cool. And before you go, let's give you an idea of where the drives are actually sitting for temperatures currently. Close that out. My C drive, which is my 2 terabyte, is 99% good condition and 33 Celsius. My Kingston KC is 99% good, 39 Celsius. Okay, so that's pretty good. That's kind of average. The only time I see those temperatures ever go up is when I'm going to do a really demanding video editing app, or I don't know, maybe in gameplay, but I can't play the game and that at the same time. So I'd have to do a test, play the game, quit really fast, and then fire it up and then see what the temps are. But they don't get all that hot. They actually run really good. And I've got a cooling plate, and there's a lot of ventilation underneath this laptop for vent holes. So it gets amply cooled either way. Plus the 2 fans in there, which are self-cleaning, by the way, which is awesome. No, never have to clean dust bunnies out. At least I don't. I don't have animals in the house. But either way, it works. I have 5 fans underneath my plate that I leave running full blast all the time. And then, so whenever my internal fans do kick on, it's usually when I'm playing a really demanding game, then I'll hear the fans come on a bit. But I've never heard them go, wah! Okay. They've been going like, wah, kind of thing. That hurt. So, take it for what you will. That's my review on the Asus Tuf F17. And now we got to get on to doing different things for the rest of the day, including playing some games. I got more games to download that I want to try out and see what they're like. But and we'll share those experiences with you guys for sure. Yeah, that's about all we can really cover for this one. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and see ya.